What's up,
I'm
coach?
not much. I'm learning, man. I'm learning.
Hey, you got it. Y'all don't, the older cats don't give themselves enough credit, man. Y'all got it.
I just never, I think I used it one time, Instagram. They probably laughed at me because I was trying to get logged on and all that. So I need to get better at it.
When I was at Yale, that was kind of my duty for Coach Jones because people care about what you guys are doing and they care about your thoughts and your views and just it's 2020 is very important. So I was running his stuff and I was asking him, Coach, hey, can I post this? Can I post this? And he don't really care about it, but
Yeah,
it helps. It
it
helps.
does help. Now I've spent more time. The only thing I haven't done a lot of is really Instagram Live, and I don't have a Facebook page. I have a Facebook mentions. I don't really use it like that. I had it out in California, but I've with this COVID, it's really helped me in a lot of areas just to spend more time in and around the office, emails and all that. So that's been very helpful because I hate dealing with emails and all that stuff, man. But it's been helpful.
Got you. Um, okay, Coach. Well, so I started with in this pandemic. Um, I started to just want. I had time to think more than ever, and I decided to step away from Yale for reasons that God showed me. I just saw a different vision, and within me trying to figure out my own deal, I just wanted to find ways to continue to be fruitful and use my passions and my experiences to give to others, especially now in times where it's so very important to influence in a positive way.
Yeah.
So I say that to say I came up with this idea to start a Instagram live, and I really want to just have conversation, genuine conversation with coaches and people who I have admiration for, and I know they have a lot to say. They have a story, and they can make an impact, and people want to hear. Um, so I appreciate you coming on. And I first saw you at the Final Four, and you were talking at a black coaches, the convention with Coach with Rafael Chilius, and you are the representation of a strong-willed black man who does the right things and presents himself the right way. And I just had so much respect for it. So when I was thinking about who I wanted to interview and who I wanted to try to touch base with and have conversation with, you came to my mind.
Thank
Um,
you.
so here we are.
Thank
Um,
you.
I'm just going to delve right in and be honest. I just watched the 1994 game uh, against Kansas. So tell me about, because it's new to me. Like it's brand. I just coach. I just watched it. Um,
Good game. So yeah, obviously, we came out on top. It was a great game. The game against Kansas, I think at the half, Big Dog might have had 30. For those that don't know, Glenn Robinson, and there's a third, but Glenn Robinson, I played with the dad at Purdue. Um, we were roommates, great friends to this day. But an elite scorer, when you're talking about guys that could score the ball, an elite scorer and a high level of toughness. And I think that's what separated him from the competition. He had a tremendous amount of toughness. His will to win was great. His will to compete was great. He practiced with a hard hat on. I think that's what really separated him. And it was a great game. Kansas had a great team. Steve Woodbury is a friend of mine to this day. Dog, like I said, he had 30 at the half. I mean, he was scoring the ball, and they're getting high level both ways. So it wasn't like, and they were a great defensive team.
mm-hmm.
And we just had fun, man. We played together. We had great relationships as a team, and I think the team thing that made that team unique, we were all grateful to be in the presence of Dog, and I said it respectfully. And were happy when he scored 30 points. We scored 40. I remember one time we tried to get him 50, and that's the sign of a great team and great teammates, man. And we came up short, but I felt like we had the parts to do it all, but we came up short.
The other reason why I wanted to do something like this and have conversations with people like you is because I want to continue to learn the game and understand where people have come from and uh, be be able to recognize uh, some of the talented guys who came before me, and I was watching that game, and what he was doing, I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
like everything, like a dog too. Um, so I can only imagine if he's, and a lot of kids need to be better at approaching practice a certain way, because if he's approaching practice like that, and those are the things that are coming from that grind and him working that hard, it would go to show for so many other guys at the same time. Um, Coach, how did you go from, and what would you say if I told you you had a player who started his career as a freshman, 0 for 1 from the 3-point line. His sophomore year, he goes 0 for 6 from the 3-point line, and then his junior and senior years, he's 89 for 196 and 81 for 194. What changed in the scheme? What changed in your game to allow for that to happen?
Just work, just work. And I think for me, of course, the basketball was what it was. But when I came out of high school, out of East St. Louis, Lincoln High School, and LaFonso Ellis, the guy that you see on ESPN, we grew up together. He's from East St. Louis as well, and he was a great player. And East St. Louis High School started in the 10th grade. But I was a guy that was a slasher, really more of a 4 or 5. Even though I was maybe 6'5", 160, 170 pounds, I was a slasher. Didn't really dribble a lot, didn't shoot any threes. I was at the point of depression on our high school team, so I would get a lot of steals, putbacks, that sort of thing. And when I got to college, I was the same player. And at my high school coach, they did a great job of putting me in position to be successful. So when I got to Purdue, now I had to go from being a 4 or 5 to a wing, to be able to play on the wing and be productive, handling the ball, making decisions, passing the ball, shooting the 3-ball. And only time I shot the 3-ball my freshman year is I shot a half-court long shot, the buzzer going down. And then the next year, my sophomore season, I was 0 for 6 from 3. And it might have been I would say maybe our 6th or 7th game of the season. And Coach Katie, you know, he huddled guys up at the end of practice. He said, Zoe, you need to stop shooting threes for the rest of the year. And I'm like, man, Coach, we just getting started. I stopped shooting threes for the rest of the year. And it wasn't like I was afraid to shoot them again, but out of respect for him as my coach, if that means us winning basketball games for me to stop shooting threes, and I have to do what coach asked me. But in the process of that, though I'm 19, 20 years old, I still understood the fact that he said you can still score the ball, but your strength is not shooting threes. So I don't get discouraged. So, and I felt like I had a pretty good year that year. And going into my junior season, kind of wanted to show coach, but also myself, that I can shoot the shots. Because again, when you have an elite guy like Glenn, the way he plays, you have to be able to do other stuff. Somebody has to make shots. And that was one of the main reasons I spent so much time, working on my 3-ball. And after that, I think I ended up breaking the school record, the fastest in 2 years, the fastest in school history. And I think I still hold the record for percentage. And it was just really a lot of work, but the pride and I don't know if embarrassed the word when guys aren't defending you on the perimeter, but just the pride in being able to make that shot because I owe it to my teammates.
Especially in that time where a lot of guys really weren't pumping those threes up.
No, it wasn't, man. And just I had to do it because I could slash, I can get offensive rebounds. I was a really good defender, but I had to improve my 3-ball. But again, it was not only a 3-ball, it was learning how to play an motion offense. It was also learning how to handle the ball on the perimeter. And just I was always excited about the growth of my game when I went from not really dribbling the ball to all of a sudden I'm able to dribble the ball against the press. That made me feel good. Now, for some on the surface, they might have said, oh, that's nothing, but it made me feel good because I put the time into it. One of my teammates, we would play in the summertime, and he would pick me up full court. He was a great defender, but he would pick me up full court all the time, and I couldn't turn my back, so I had to handle the ball and face up and make plays, and it made me grow.
And what did Coach Petty say once you made those strides?
Oh, he didn't say nothing. Because the truth of the matter, of course, he was happy that I made this stride, but in a lot of ways, it was what I was supposed to do. If you work on it, then you have the right to do it. But the shots still have to fall. I mean, no coach is going to let a guy just shoot shots and they miss it. You still have to make the shots. And then what happened, I might have been the first guy under coach. I would shoot 3 balls on a 3-on-1 break. I would pull up for 3. But that's to the level of my confidence because I put the time into it. But coach also knew that I was going to bring the heat on the other side of the ball as well. And he knew I was going to do everything in my power to lead our team, try to win basketball games. There was nothing malicious about me when it came to being a part of a team.
Mm-hmm. I got you. So do you have, when you what's your approach with your guys today when it comes to allowing guys to shoot 3-pointers, and what's a good shot, what's a bad shot, what's a great possession, what's not? What are we looking for? But what standard do they have to perform at in practice in the game for you to really allow and be comfortable with that?
We'll just be able to make shots. I don't necessarily have okay, you got to make 400 shots in this spot or that many shots in this spot, because what happens is there are certain gauges we have as a staff. But what happens is I remember as a player, and I love Coach dearly. We probably talk at least once a week. But it was almost as if I want guys to be. Coach was tremendous, and even at that time, maybe coaching was all about defining roles. You still do it, but there's a level of comfort as you define roles. Because for me, I want guys to be able to grow into something. I don't want to pigeonhole. This is what you're doing. Unless we get to a point in your career, that's who you are. You basically said that's who you are. But I never want to be a guy to say, all I want you to do is do this, because then that'll stunt your growth. Because I could have easily stopped shooting threes for my career. I was still playing. But I want to be a better basketball player, not only for myself, but for my teammates. So I think you have to allow guys to grow in whichever role they want to be. You let them become that ball handler. And plus, the international game has really showed us that when a kid is small, I don't care if you're the tallest guy, you should be able to dribble, pass, and shoot the ball. You should be able to pass the ball with both hands. You should be able to shoot the ball, make layups with both hands. The jump stops, the passing behind, the passing in the corner. You should be able to pass your left hand to the right corner, your right hand to the left corner. All these things we have to teach our guys. And there's no such thing as a big guy when you're a young guy. Mm-hmm. Let the college teams, let the professional teams define that. But I think when they're all young, they all have to develop their skills. That's why you see so many international big guys, so talented. It's natural. When I played over, those big guys would do everything that guards did. And now you see the difference. And it's slowly how we've adjusted to the international game here in the United States.
Agreed. Hey, Coach, can you bring us back to just growing up in East St. Louis and some of the hardships that you faced, and then being able to get out of it?
Well, I think, just for me, I've seen a lot as a young guy, and I don't say it to be boastful. Some guys say it like it's bodacious. It's not that, but I can truly say when you're in those environments, your demeanor, your disposition has to be intact at all times. Mm-hmm. And you have to be clear about that. You have to be sound about that, because, man, you can move in certain areas within your own city and get yourself in a real bind. And I was always a guy, man. I got along with everybody, man. And you know how it is when you're in the areas. When you play sports, you're good. It doesn't matter. And again, it's safe to say I was always up under my mother, man. I was either baseball and it was basketball for me, and then I was in the house around my mom. Now, my brothers and sisters, they were out and about, but I was good in the space of my mom, and that's all that really mattered with my guys in the area. We stayed in project housing, man. So everybody was family, so it was all good.
Can you answer that same question and act as if you're speaking to a number of these kids in the inner cities who do feel hopeless and it's just a struggle and not easy?
Well, I think the thing that I always say, we have to do everything in our power to provide hope for our young men and women, especially in those low socioeconomic areas. We have to provide hope. If you don't give them hope, then they have nowhere to turn, because the faith starts wavering, because I can't see 5-10 years down the road. I don't know what that looks like. But what's in front of me, it's enticing, but it's really not. It's not a lot. But it's right in front of me. So I like what's presented to me right now. And I just know for us growing up, my inspiration was Jackie Joyner Kersey. She was our inspiration. She's from East St. Louis. And I'll never forget the Seoul Olympics. We kind of shut down the school. We were in high school at that time. And it was the greatest feeling just to see her perform, and we having parades. And like I said, she's in the Seoul Olympics, and that was it for me. I want to be that. I want to do that. And I never, to be honest, I never had a 10, 20 years down the road. My mom just always said, dream big. You got to continue to believe. But it was never when I get this age, because I really couldn't comprehend, though I went to class, I want to be respectful here, but I never couldn't comprehend that $50,000, that's a lot of money. $100,000. I couldn't comprehend it. For some reason, you felt like if you didn't have $1 million, And it's like, man, you don't even know what $1 million is, you know. So it was just, I got to do everything in my power to make sure my mom is happy. That was the first thing, to make sure she's proud. That was my gauge, but I didn't really have a plan to say, okay, I want to be an engineer. That was never my plan. Coach Katie called me about a job to be a part of his staff at Purdue, but it was just my whole mission until I met my girlfriend, obviously my wife, but it was to make sure my mom was happy. And whatever that was, I had to do. And I wasn't going to do anything as far as crime and violence and that sort of thing, but I had to make sure she was happy and she had a peace of mind. Because I'll go back to you might touch base on this, man. I'll never forget when I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a form of cancer. My mom was one of the, meaning the intimate people in my life. She was one of the last people that I let know, because my wife was like, you need to tell your mom, because I'm not going to tell her. And it was so hard for me to say it to my mom, because I felt like I was letting her down. I really felt like I was letting my mom down if I said to her I had cancer. And obviously she's strong and she was good. And here we are today.
Did you do that? Did you have that conversation in person?
No, I didn't do it. Because what happened, she didn't know. And I don't think my wife told her. Now, maybe I need to really ask my wife. My wife's in the house. I really need to ask her, did you tell her and give her a heads up? But I know if my wife would have gave her a heads up, my mom would have been down there. Because I lived in Indianapolis, Indiana. My mom was in East St. Louis, which is driving, 4+ hours. So I told her via phone, and it was a hard thing to do, because again, for some reason, it's just like I'm letting you down. And but of
And
course, my mom.
how old were you, Coach?
I was 27 when I was diagnosed with well, I was playing in Avellino, Italy, so I think I was 20. I was 26. So I was playing in Avellino, Italy. I sprint down the court, and I got to half court, and this is how I was breathing, and then I just dropped. Um, And the trainer took me back in the training room, and he couldn't speak any English. So what he was trying to say was, he was saying, when you first came to Italy, you were big, but now you're small. So at that time, I went over 215 pounds, and I was probably 185 in a matter of 4 months. So the owner of the team, his wife was from New York. She was Italian, but she was from New York, so she could speak fluent English. So she would translate for him, and they would just say, you need to get back to the States immediately. So my wife and my son Joshua was 4.5 months old at the time. So my wife and Josh, we flew from Rome to New York, New York to Indianapolis. And we got to Indianapolis. Again, my time, because it's been so many years, but I
Mm-hmm.
would say around 1 o'clock, somewhere in the 1 o'clock in the morning, we got back to our house. And I had my son Joshua, and I was so exhausted, I just kind of dropped him on the couch. And my wife, she was kind of getting the bags, and I went over to the other couch, and I was just laying there, and I said, we need to get to the hospital right away, because I was so exhausted. And we went to the hospital. So now you're talking a timeline to maybe being 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. Tests, X-rays, blood work, and when the doctor came back, he said, I don't know if you're going to die, but this is life threatening. And what they found a tumor about the size of a baseball between my chest and lung area, and I still have about that much scar tissue to this day. So I did. Well, that night, so when they put me in a room, because they were hopeful that it was tuberculosis. So when they put me in a room, they just said, your wife and son can't be in it if it is tuberculosis. So they were outside of the room, had glass in the room, kind of like a movie, the movie settings. And simply at that point, because I was so exhausted, and not to say I was ready to give up anything, I just said to God, would you allow me to see my son turn 18? And I don't want to say the deal, but just let me see him turn 18, and whatever happens after that happens. And because I just felt like I was never a guy to ask why me, because again, who am I? I'm just like anybody else. But so my thing was, you gave me this son. Um, he's only 4.5 months old. At least give me some time to raise him, so that way I can equip him with the necessary tools for survival in life and all those things that a man is supposed to give his son. At least let me do that. And then if your will is for me no longer to be on this earth, then I understand it. And that was simply my prayer. Now my son Joshua, he's 23 years old right now, and he's enjoying life. And the crazy thing about it too, and going through that, my oncology doctor, he just said, And if any kids listen to this, I want to be respectful to that space. He just said to my wife and I, do you want to reserve sperm just because with chemotherapy you might not be able to have kids again?
Mhm.
And then we were just like, I was like, nah, I don't want to do it because if I'm no longer on this earth, I don't want that. I don't want that for my wife, and especially if I'm not here. So we just said, I said no. And then here we are. I have an 18-year-old son and I have a 13-year-old daughter. So we have three of them now. So we're ahead of the game.
How long did it take to go into remission? And then we'll leave it at that.
Well, I did chemotherapy for about 4.5 months, and that was tough, tough, tough because that was probably the first time in my life I didn't have any control over the situation. And I remember Doc Andy Greenspan. He's in Indianapolis, a wonderful man. I remember when he started. We were about to start our treatment at the oncology office, and he would start naming these medicines. I just said, Doc, respectfully, I don't even know the name of those, and it just not to say I wasn't going to be on this earth, but that doesn't matter to me. What the names of the medicines are, do what you need to do. Uh, and we did chemotherapy for about 4.5 months, and woo, and what I would do, my first treatment, say it was on a Monday, and then we would go a week off, and then we go 4 straight days, then we go 2 weeks off, and you talking about, oh man, and there were, and I was saying that, and again, I'm not exaggerating into this. Hopefully, I can have it as accurate as possible. But for about a month or so, I was laying down probably 20 plus hours a day. Just I had nothing in me. And the other thing I never asked my wife, now that I think about it, because I struggle talking about it unless I have to talk about it. But
Hmm.
they allowed us to go home for Thanksgiving, and I just maybe they didn't think, you know. So, but I need to ask my wife that too.
Yeah, I had rheumatoid arthritis when I was a youngin. I think I was probably about 7 to 10 years old, where I couldn't. There was times where I just had no energy. I was on crutches for a while. I was back and forth to Children's Hospital, and my parents prayed on it and remission. So very thankful for the blessings. Um, so while I'm doing my research on you, Coach, I noticed that you coach Willie Dean, and I'm from upstate New
Tough,
York. I'm from Albany, and I gave
tough.
him a call to just give me some. What do you think about Coach? I'm interviewing him. What you have any experience? Not experience, but memories of. He just said when Coach came on, he did a great job of relating because you were a
Yeah,
young coach, and he spoke to the hard work and the determination and the loyalty. So on the flip side, what give me a story about Willie, and an experience that you have or memory you have of how he was as a player
he was
or his
tough.
understanding.
He was
He said
tough.
he a phone call too.
I think Willie was tough. He was strong. Uh, I was shocked that he never played in the NBA. And you say he on the call, even if he's on the call, I was shocked he never played in the NBA because he could score the ball. I think he might have been a two-time leading scorer in the Big Ten, or definitely top 3 or 4, something like that in the Big Ten. But fast, strong. He was built like Barry Sanders when you're talking about the thighs and just attacking the rim, explosive. Could shoot it, you can get to the rim. Um, yeah, he could score the ball, man, and he was about his business. He knew who he was at a young guy, at a young age, man, and he had a blueprint, understanding what he wanted to be. He was strong in his convictions, and is bode well for him to this day as a man and a father. And I applaud him for that. But for me, it was all the same, man. I just and in coaching young guys, I've always tried to keep in mind at some point there'll be somebody's father, somebody's husband, and what can I give them? And I always try to keep it real with them. I was never one of those guys. I'm not a guy that use all these cuss words, and I was never one of those guys that uh, try to be homies with the players as an assistant coach, because it wasn't about that for me. It's about having true relationships. I wouldn't wasn't about how's your girlfriend, what y'all do last night, did you have all that type, man. I don't. We're not. My job is to show you what it looks like. When I came on, I might have been 28 when Willis there. So I need to show you what 28 looks like, whatever that is, man. Because I had a wife, I had kids, and I didn't want those guys that ever felt like, okay, Coach Cooley hanging out at the parties at the clubs and all that. That wasn't me, and I wasn't trying to do that in recruiting to sell somebody that That wasn't me. And it was just about real relationships, teaching those guys life skills, man. And I've always been a guy, give them everything I have. I've never had nothing to hide, man. My life has been on full display, and I got a lot of flaws and a lot of scars, and I'm good. If I'm able to touch souls, then it means I've done my job. Because for me, it's about eternal living. It's not necessarily what I'm doing on this earth. I'm grateful to be on this earth, to be with my family, and do the things I do. But I'm fighting for eternal living. I got to do everything in my power to be right and do that.
What's your greatest moment as a coach?
My greatest moment as a coach, man. You know, I like competing. So it's hard to say greatest moment. I really like competing, man. And I don't know if it's necessary a game because there's so many games. I can remember I can remember the tough losses more than the wins. But I don't have a greatest moment as a coach. I really don't, man. Because you're going and going and going. But I do have a certain, I guess, admiration and love and passion when you see guys have an opportunity to play at the highest level because they aspire to do that. And it's so hard to do. And we talk about it all the time. It's amazing how everybody talks about somebody's being a pro when it's only 450 jobs, if I'm not mistaken. It's not 10,000 jobs. So if I'm blessed to don that uniform and play at that level, that is powerful. That means everything had to be clicking on all cylinders. Because in my opinion, it's really only about, and again, it's just my opinion, it's probably only about 15, 20 guys when they get out of bed, they're the best in the world, no matter where you put them. You can put them in New York, Idaho, El Segundo, Jamaica, they're the best no matter what. So because they're that talented. But after that, there's a percentage of 75, maybe 65% of guys. It's who you know, what's your character, your work ethic, all those things. What do you specialize in? So if you can get into that, then you got a chance, man. And at the end of the day, whether you win or lose, you're able to provide for your family. And that's a beautiful thing. And not that you owe that to anybody, but you're able to provide whenever you're able to. It's because for me, it makes me feel good. If I'm able to provide for my family, it makes me feel good. Because, man, I take a tremendous amount of pride in that because I know what we didn't have growing up. So I feel good. I don't have a lot of things I need, a lot of things I got to have. Man, I can wear the same clothes every day as long as my underwear and all that clean. I'm, being respectful here, but it just, I'm happy when I see my family happy. I'm happy when I see my nephews and nieces happy. I'm happy when my mom, my aunt, all of them, they smile, they happy. That makes me feel good. All that other stuff, man, I'm good.
Um, can you just mentioned the word specialized with players? Can you can you speak to the importance of guys, no matter what their next level is? It doesn't have to just be college basketball, but the importance of being able to be great in your role, playing the game efficiently, and specializing in something so that they have opportunity to get on the court. Because there's only so many guys who just have green light to take 5, 6 dribbles, shoot fadeaways off one legs, and do all the other stuff that they're extremely capable of. But then there's the rest of the team.
I think three things you gotta. There's a lot of things. You're talking to coaches, everybody has this and that. But oftentimes, when I give stories are based on what I'm saying, it's probably what I went through as a player. You have to have a tremendous amount of dedication. You have to have a certain amount of intellect. You have to have that, and you gotta have an abundance of grit. And again, it might be women on here, kids. You gotta have some stones, man. It's like, hey, man. And for me, it was simply, I'm willing to die for this thing. Whenever I stepped on the court, and I was a role player until I left Purdue. I was a role player. Glenn Robinson was a great player. I mean, I was always a role player. Etwan Moore, Jawan Johnson, Robbie Holmes, those guys are great players at Purdue. Carson, those guys are great. I felt like I was a great role player, but the things I felt like I can control when I stepped on the wood, you weren't going to be tougher. I can't let you be tougher than me. I can't let you outwork me. And there was not going to be a better defender. I was taking pride in those things. I had to take pride in that. All the other stuff, man, let the chips fall where they may. Let it fall where they may. But if you're not willing to die for this, then why are you doing it? Why are you doing it as a young guy? If I got a chance, if I'm in the ballpark to make money for the next 5 to 10 years playing a sport, and all I got to do is eat right, get some rest, and forgive me if there are kids on here. I got to, my character has to be intact. So that means I got to be able to say no to sex, drugs, and alcohol. I got to, as I gain power and notoriety, I have to maintain a certain amount of humility as I gain that. And saying no to a lot of things, saving my money. Nothing wrong with, I'm not talking about the cars, whatever you want, but saving my money. If I can do that, if I can just max out my talent every day, and I got a chance to change my life, man, are you kidding me? All of that stuff can wait. There's nothing will stop me from reaching my goal. But I think what happens with a lot of young guys now, I'm just saying it because my experiences, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, they have to find something that they love. You know, some people use the word why, the why and all that, man. You got to find something you love, you're willing to die for, and lean on that. Everything I did, all my decisions until I met my wife, was I cannot let my mama down. That was it. That was my gauge. That was my why. Whatever that is, that was it. And my mom, I tell you, we grew up in Project House. My mom, she wasn't a lady that cuss. She wasn't a lady that drink. She wasn't a lady that smoke. We grew up in Project House. My mom, and I tell you this, and people might laugh when I say this, especially if you grew up in that environment. My mom never spanked me to this day. When I was a kid, you know, and you used to get spankings back then. Now, you can't do all that stuff nowadays, but, you know, my mom never once. And my mom has never heard me use a cuss word to this day. To this day, it's just amount of respect, and it's what it is. I mean, my brother 50 years old. I'll be 49 in 2 weeks. My sister's 47. One of them 40. Never heard those words. But that's respect.
Mm-hmm.
I think with most young guys nowadays, in my opinion, a tremendous amount of talent. They got all that, but they got to find something that they love, because that way I got something to lean on. Because when I lose sight of my structure and my boundaries, then it leads to chaos. So my structures and my boundaries is what I love. Mom, dad, grandmother, whatever it is, find it that you love. So when you slip up, it can reel you back in. Okay, I'm back on track.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they're losing or missing out on.
Yeah, and they also need the guidance early so they understand that people ain't always coming down on them. They're just trying to help them.
Well, I mean, now we could be all night now. It's just because when you say guidance early, uh, I love you and I want you to be successful. I don't want nothing from you. All my players, I say, I don't want nothing from you but success. Nothing. I don't want nothing from you, man. It's it's painful. I can only imagine how exhausting it is to be a young, talented player, especially if somebody identifies you in the 7th grade. That's got to be exhausting if you don't have a mom and dad and a team around you to get everything else out of your way. That would be painful. By the time I got 22, man, it's like I can't take it anymore, because I don't know what's truthful. I don't know who's telling me what. I'm exhausted by this. Please, just allow me to be 16, 17. Just let me play some basketball. Let me go home. Let me play. It's okay to be on the video games all night, every night. That's okay. We had video games too. Now they weren't as fancy, but we had them too. So it's okay. We lose sight of those things, but we have to allow young men and women to be just that. Let them be youth. Let them grow up. Let them have fun. Let them live. Let them learn. Let them make mistakes. The problem nowadays, they can't make mistakes in front of everybody because it becomes a video. Like, man, that's why a lot of them struggle, because they're afraid to make mistakes, man. Ain't no wrong with making mistakes. Make all of them in the world. I tell my daughter, I tell my kids to this day, when you go to class, if you get an F, you earn that F, we good. You ain't got to worry about pops. You get a D, you earn that D, we good. Man, can you imagine how stressful it is when you have the social media platform and you're trying to fit in like that? You don't know what I just dealt with today. My daughter's in an environment where she's one of the few young black girls, and all of a sudden in the school is different. Like, well, I want to wear my hair like that. So now we got to make sure she understands that's cool. You want to wear it like that, but also you beautiful. You the best looking thing I ever seen in my life. You beautiful. You know, so you have to make them feel good. So it's so much that they deal with. Sometimes just allow them to have a peace of mind. And I'm hopeful, because one thing I know, God doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't make mistakes. And we've had a lot of loss when it comes to COVID, a lot of anxiety, stress, loss of jobs, loss of family members, and all that. But there has to be a silver lining from the standpoint that people were closer. Should have gotten closer with their families. Hope that's hopeful. Little kids were able to stay at home, be with their families, and get secluded and get away from all that other madness. Just let me be a kid. I just want to be a kid. That's why I tell my kids, just be a kid. Let me take care of it. Let me take the blows for you. Let me be the umbrella when it's raining. I'll take the blows for you. Because they got a long time to live. My daughter, she want to wake up her bed messed up. That's all right. You can mess it up. Just don't eat chips in the bed. That's why I would say, don't eat the chips in the bed. Just because she got a long time if she chooses to get married and if she's a mother and she has kids, she'll be making their beds all the time. She got plenty of time to do that. You go ahead and live your life. I got you.
How old is
I
she?
got you. She's 13.
13.
Oh, rough now. She hard on her dad now. God, she hard
Why,
on the pops.
why you make your son stop playing basketball at 4 years old, Coach?
Oh man, I didn't do that. He did that. So we were out playing. We had a little small goal. You put the sand in the basket. We were playing, and we keeping score. And he just said, he said, and when Josh was younger, all of his stories and how he communicated most of the time was via movies. And he would just say, I don't want to keep scoring anymore. So he was mad. And then later on that day or night, he just said, because I don't know if they might have the remake now because you're young, but Lady and the Tramp, and he was like, I'm a straight dog like Tramp. I'm like he wanted to run away from home because he was mad at him because we keep the score. So, but he was 4 years old. He stopped playing. That was it because he don't want to keep score. And I'm like, man, we just, but that was it. So, but I never after that. I never. It's your thing, man. Whatever you want to do. Now he's studying. He's in grad school studying to be a speech pathologist. He's good.
Wonderful. So I know when I'm on the sidelines, 33 years old, need to learn a lot more about the game. So you coach with your passion, you coach with your energy because that's what
Mm-hmm.
you do best at that moment.
Yeah.
And I see how you coach now. Have you leveled off as far as your energy on the sideline? Because I know I used to get headaches after the game. And that looks like something that may have crossed your path also, the way that you coach. Um, so the question would be like, have you, I mean, I see the energy. So has the energy like leveled off a little bit or what's the approach?
You can't let up on energy. I just think you change, you evolve, and it just I'm not kidding you, man. And if you don't if you're not up close and you probably don't you can't hear what I'm saying, and I might look like I'm mean and all that, man. But I ain't hurting a flea. But when I'm on the sideline, it's more like I'm a sixth man, especially on the defense side of the ball for our guys. I'm
Got it.
more like that. I'm just talking. But man, but several times I get hoarse, and I'm not kidding you. Sometimes I'll be in the game, and then I'll sit down and tell my assistant I can't. I mean, really, and it just so. Oh man, it just no. I just think you grow into whatever it is, and my prayer, and I've always prayed God. I want to be able to sit down and watch the game. So that means I have to do a better job of putting guys in position. I think I'm up anxiety and all that in the game. It's not that like I'm just all this all day long. I think I'm up more because of anxiety, uh, and I need that because I got gum over there, I got everything over there, man. You should have saw when I first started coaching what I had over there, man. I had so much stuff over there.
I, I can imagine. I can imagine. I can imagine. What's your how has your game day etiquette changed from when you first started to um to now? As far as because I mean, game day, each coach does something different, and I know for a head coach, there's a lot going on in your mind game day. So what's your approach? What's your etiquette?
For me, when I leave the house, and my wife, 95% of the time, my wife, picks out what I wear. I mean, and that's probably the best thing is if I go, then it just, and I don't have bad taste, man, but I'll wear the same thing. So she'll pick it out. So once she pick it out, I'm off to work, and I don't come back home in between. Once I hit the work, I'm at work, and then I always get a workout the day of the game, and depending on the time of the game, but I always get a workout. But say, for example, the game is at, we'll do a shoot around. If it's early games, we don't do a shoot around. We'll watch video. But
What type of shoot around, coach? Shoot around, walk through, like is
should we get shots up, and then we'll go with plays. Uh, but mainly shot. But we're not
you're
sprinting,
not
doing that,
sweating
taking
or anything?
charges and all that. No.
Okay.
Pardon me?
You're not the guys ain't sweating.
No, but everybody sweat because they get shot. But we're not running all that. No shell drill, taking charge, none of that. But shots, going over reps, game plan, and then we pre-game meal. But that could be between hour, 45, 30 minutes, depending on what it is. And it's just, and oftentimes, if I feel like I'm exhausted, then I know they're exhausted. I'm not a guy to say, okay, we're going an hour and a half no matter what. I don't do that. If I'm exhausted, we shut it down. We shut it down. I always try to get a pulse of our players. But after shoot around, and for me, say for example, the game is at 7 p.m. 5 p.m. I write stuff on the board, and after a while, I'll try to wind down, and it's either jazz music, gospel music, or like old school Nita Baker, Sade, that sort of thing. And I can't really fall asleep because my heart is going. So it's hard to wind down, but I just really try to shut my body down. But I'm not really sleeping, and that can be between 30 to 40 minutes, somewhere around there. Then after that, it's time.
Do you remember your first scout?
Wow, good question, man. I know I was at Purdue. I don't remember though, but I enjoyed doing scouts. I did. I took a lot of pride in that.
If you were
Uh,
talking to the young guys about, because obviously they're doing scouts and they're trying to do the best to help the team prepare, what are some pointers or some things that you did or that you like to see when you have your guys do your scouts?
I think one of the biggest things, man, you have to study that film. And when I started, it was the VHS where you did that. Then it transitioned though at maybe a year or two. So, but what happened when you're scouting? Because I've always been a defensive minded guy, even though when I scored the ball, my mindset is always on the defensive side. So I didn't want guys scoring, so I always looked at it like this. So when you're doing a scouting report, what gives your team the best chance to win the game? That's what you have to ask. What gives your team the best chance to win the game? Because I think, and we all are part of it, unless your head coach give you guidance. We all, when we give a scouting report, it can be that thick because you don't want coach to say, well, you didn't have this, you didn't have that, until you kind of understand. You can have it, the guy that's doing the scout, but when you're presenting something, you got to have 5 to 7 things that your guys know. Because, and the other thing, if you're walking on the floor and you got a sheet and you got to look at the sheet on the scouting report, now if you're looking at the sheet, then how you expect your players to remember that? They already got to understand our own game plan. But if you're sitting there going over this sheet, okay, let's walk over here. The fourth man, you right here. Well, look, don't present that play, coach, because you don't know it. You were supposed to watch 5 or 10 pieces of film to get us prepared, man. Give me that. We always say, give me your bread and butters.
Mm-hmm.
Give me your bread and butters. After that, man, let the chips fall where they may, because we spent an X amount of time with our game plan. We sure already know what we're doing. But that 20%, we have to prepare for those guys. That's understood. But I think the biggest thing is, 5 to 7 things that those teams like to do all the time. 5 to 7 things. Go over that, execute that, and then allow the other things that you worked on from August, September, October, now to November to be your game plan, your blueprint.
When I say these names, give me your first thought when they come to mind. JoJo White,
Score.
Darius Miles,
Man, now D Miles was now I got to
do what you
D
got.
Miles D Miles was younger than me. I played with Alfonso. I would not D Miles might have been the best I've seen. When I saw D Miles, because I was going, I saw D Miles. Everybody talking D Miles. He was younger, because his mom used to drive our buses to games and all that.
When,
She's a wonderful
how
lady.
old was he when you first saw him?
When I first saw D, 'cause he was little, so you didn't know him. But all of a sudden, you go off your college, you play whatever, and all of a sudden, I seen him. He was like 6'8", and man, D came down in full speed, crosser. Like, oh, it was impressive. So I mean, I would, and Fonz out, he's not listening, so it's good. But I think D Miles, as far as talent, man, he was a bad boy, man. He was. But now on the flip side, D didn't get a chance to put any rings on his finger, so you got to put that ring on your finger now. So I got to give it to Fonz as far as winning championships, but D Miles is rough now.
Larry Hughes.
Good score, 6'5", elite score, man. He just humble guy to this day, man. He's but can score the ball at a high level. Yes.
Uh, Jason Tatum.
Oh, you see it. You see it up close now. But again, an elite scorer, man. Just he's a guy, man. Barring injury, he'll his name will go in the Hall of Fame, barring any major injuries.
Okay, I got a couple more for you, Coach. As
What's
you're
up, Nisha?
as you're on the
That's my sister-in-law. I apologize.
no, you're good right here. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I
yeah.
one question I have from somebody was how important is prayer in your daily life?
That is my life. I mean, that's the center of my life. I mean, because I pray all the time. It could be, of course, when I get up in the morning. Now, it's the two main people that I listen to all the time, and I listen to a lot of people. The two main people I listen to: Bishop T.D. Jakes, I've been listening to for years, and Miles Monroe, who's I think Miles Monroe passed away in 2014. Those are two I listen to all the time. I listen to Pastor Hawkins. I listen to Bishop Whittier in St. Louis, Pastor Hawkins on the Illinois side. So I listen to those guys as well, and again amongst other people, man. But it's the center of my life. But I think what happens for some reason I don't know where people think prayer is a weakness when you pray for humility, and I think it's the opposite. I think it's a tremendous amount of strength to have humility. And I think, again, for me, prayer gives me balance. It gives me a peace of mind. And it just, I know if something gets off kilter, I know how to get back home. Start praying. I know that.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I just need to continue to walk down that path and be more consistent because when you're consistent, you feel it.
Oh,
You
you
know,
can't lose. I can say it all the time. When your life is right and your life is good, it doesn't matter what the scoreboard says. You can't lose. Can't lose.
um, talk quickly, Coach, about how you feel about this year's team, what you guys have been able to put together. Obviously, it's not the normal rollout and the
Yeah,
process. So, how are you feeling about your team and your guys and what
I
you've been
feel
through
great about it.
so far?
I feel great about our team. We've had some, man, for 3 years we had some major injuries, some heavyweights. Now when you have heavyweights get major injuries, I mean, you look at Michael Porter Jr. right now. I mean, you're talking about a high level scorer, and people take for granted he's an elite rebounder. Jonte Porter was probably the best I've seen at 17 years old. I mean, doing what he's doing. Jeremiah goes down injured, so it just I really like our team. I do. I like the makeup of our team. I think we got all the parts to be successful, and the things that I've always talked about the team, the accountability, the toughness, the mental and the physical toughness, the gratitude, because you still have to be grateful for the opportunities that are provided to you. And then you also have to have compassion for your teammates, because oftentimes, man, sometimes guys go through things, stuff at home, and you have to have compassion for that space. And then you got to be willing to die for it. And I say die respectfully. When you want something so bad, you got to be willing to die for it. That means putting all your time and efforts into it, max out everything you got.
And when you're recruiting, do you know you're getting guys that are gritty and high character? Are those non-negotiables when you're recruiting?
I've never been. Uh, I'm not so consumed with list of non-negotiables and that sort of thing. I think for me, it's just be respectful.
Yeah.
Every other thing I can work with, man. Now we have, like I said, I talk about accountability, compassion, gratitude, toughness, all those things, being trustworthy. I think if anything, uh, tell the truth, man. I don't care what it. Just tell the truth, man, because we can make it work when you tell me the truth. But then be respectful. Be respectful. The adults that you're working around, be respectful of their space as well. And I think that's very important, man. When you're able to respect people that didn't raise you, that speaks volumes, man. Because I think sometimes with so many young guys nowadays, it's like, man, somebody raised you, man. Respect that space. I don't care what your talent level says as an athlete. Respect the space that somebody raised you, man, and appreciate that. I mean, 'cause I think that part is lost, and I've never been in a place where I've respected any authority. Never, never disrespecting any authority.
Respect it. Yeah. Coach, lastly, and again, I ask this because I do value your beliefs and your thoughts and what you stand for. Can you just talk about the temperature that the country's in right now and
Ooh, man.
what we've been going through with all of the above, and maybe some things that come to mind that if we can continue to take steps forward, will be beneficial to the greater goal of what we're really trying to accomplish. I know that's loaded.
No, it's what it is. It's what it is. I just think we have. I think there are a lot of things that we can talk about, but I think the thing that we have to get to jobs and opportunities. That's very important. And whether these one, two, or three, but jobs and opportunities. Because if I'm not able to provide for my family, what do you think I will resort to provide for my family? So we need jobs and opportunities. The other thing we need to improve our criminal justice system. We have too many men and women of color being locked up at an alarming rate at a high level, and it's been consistent. And not only getting killed in the streets or beaten in the streets, but getting locked up. You're spending, 10, 20, 30 plus years on marijuana charges. Now all of a sudden, those same inner cities that you dumped the marijuana in is $1 billion being made. And now I'm not even a part of making any of that money. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And then the other part, and we have to really improve our health care. We have to really improve our health care. And I just, we see the videos, which is scary and it's sad, of police brutality in the streets. And we losing with black lives. We losing one or two in the streets via police brutality. But we're probably losing 500 to 1,000 due to poor health care. So we have to improve our health care. That's very important. I'm not understanding a country of this magnitude, with this amount of wealth. Why isn't everyone afforded great health care? I don't care what your status is, homeless. I don't care what it is. Everybody should be afforded great health care. Everybody should have a meal. I should be able to eat a decent meal. I should be able to have that. And then if I'm qualified for a job, I should be able to get the job. We shouldn't have one of these boxes. Because our system has been so messed up for so long, we got to have on a box, what's your race, or if you're male or female. Well, if a female want to be a coach, she can be a coach. If she want to be work construction. She want to be a CEO of a company, it doesn't matter. You either qualify for the job or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the issue is. And I think the other thing is, I always, I consistently pray to God. So I keep seeing this stuff, and I always say, God, I say, man, when will you intervene? Because I think as a black community, you're talking 400 plus years, man. I said, God, when will you intervene? This is, and I don't want to be graphic here, but it's just some of the stuff you think about in the history that you dealt with. I can only imagine what goes on in some of those prisons. I can only imagine the prisons 100 plus 200 years ago. God, and it just, I don't understand how somebody can hate another race. I don't understand you can hate another race. I don't, and we have to find a way, because in my opinion, this is my 2 cents. The black man probably gets treated the worst than any other being on this earth. I like to find the animal that gets treated worse than the black man. And it blows my mind. How do you slowly cripple a race that when they were brought over couldn't speak the language, but learn how to speak the language? Had to find a way for finagle books and get books to read, somebody to teach them how to read. They had to pasture the fields, take care of the cattle, the hogs, the chicken, all that. They had to pick the cotton. When they learned how, they built the house, they cooked the food, they cleaned the house, they nurtured the babies. Then when the baby got old enough, well, now the baby's supposed to hate me. Well, I just raised you. But now you train the baby to hate me. So a race that did all of that, and they have nothing to show for it. So you talk about reparations, we're still waiting. You talking about a race that practically 60% of this country was built on the backs of black men and women. And we have nothing to show for it, not because we didn't work. Not because we didn't work. So how do you expect me to survive? I don't understand that. Then all of a sudden you redline us for so many years. Well, I'm qualified just like the next person. We go try to get a loan from the bank. Well, you redline me over here, and all of a sudden it's a slow death becomes project housing. And then this house over here, $70,000, but over time it's $500,000. They to put their kids in college because of off the loans on that house. Now they own the house and they pass it down. Now they got summer homes that just passed down, and now we're 100 years behind. And you made me believe I was lazy. I didn't work hard. I wasn't smart all these years. Made me afraid to look in the mirror sometimes. I started to believe that. Wow. Wow. And, you know, I've heard them say it's when you get so exhausted in those environments, it's hard to attack what's next when what's behind you left you so depleted. Think about that. It's hard for me to attack what's in front of me when what's behind me has left me so depleted. And you want me to keep pushing. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. And it's just we gotta keep plugging, we gotta keep plugging, we gotta keep fighting, we gotta be resilient. We gotta reteach education, we gotta reteach Black history, we gotta do all that. That history has been a mystery, and we gotta teach it in order for us to move forward. We gotta make sure our athletes, all of our athletes that generates billions of dollars to these universities, 100% get jobs when they're done playing. 100%, not 16, 100%. They have to get jobs. They have to get jobs. We owe it to them. We owe it to them. And it's just we got ways to go, man. But we all got to be. This is not a Black issue. This is a human issue. We all have to fight this fight. I said to my sons, it might be 2 months now. I said to my sons, I said, guys, I don't know if I'm gonna be around to see true equality. I said, but I'm hopeful that if God willing, if I have grandkids, I think they can see some of the benefits of what we tried to do back in 2020, 2021, that sort of thing. And your dad, their grandfather, he might not be on this earth, but he was in the trenches because he cared about all walks of life. I love Black people. I love Black people. I love all people. I love my mom never taught me to hate. So you talking about a woman that struggled to make ends meet. There wasn't no hating in that household. You love all people. And I will live by that. But we also have to address real issues. We have to address them in order to move forward. Can you imagine? I'll leave you with this. Not me as a man.
We got a minute, Coach. We got a minute and 32
Okay.
seconds. Go.
Okay, good. So we're going to drop the mic when it's over, it's over.
Perfect.
All I want to do, if I'm a single father or if I'm a single mother, all I want to do is provide for my family. Give me a job so I can provide for my family. Give me a job so I can provide for my family. I think that's the most important thing. And then Proverbs 29:18, without a vision, the people will perish. We need a vision. Everybody has to get out and vote. Enjoy your time, and I appreciate you having me.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon. Much love.